with no further ado, I'd love to introduce you to my friend Denny Grimes. He's got something prepared for you. He's been in real estate. He'll tell everybody a little bit about how long you've been in real estate, how many transactions your team does, and your journey through Bold, what that's been like, and then start with your presentation.
Oh, thanks. So my 30 minutes now is 2.5 hours. That's awesome. So here we go. Back when I was in kindergarten, let me tell you about this. So I've been in real estate 35 years and obviously seen a lot of disruptions in the marketplace. We in Florida have had our share, obviously, with Gulf oil spill, 9/11, although it was New York, certainly affected us, hurricanes. So I've had, probably a little over 5,000 transactions in my real estate career. However, my learning came from the 15,000 transactions or people I met with and never bought. And so that's where I developed a lot of my learning, right? And Bold coach for 3+ years. And my passion is, sharing ideas and training. Because one thing I've learned in my 35 years of real estate is this, Rich. I've never met anyone to get into real estate, say, I'm just going to get into real estate and just kind of eke by until the assistant manager's job at Target opens up. People I meet want real estate to be the career. And I don't think there's a better career out there. I mean, basically you can be your own boss, the income's unlimited. And here's the thing, my hobby is flying. My dad was a pilot. My brother works for the airlines. I have my own license, and I've learned this, is that, as you know, in Florida, everyone gets a real estate license. You've heard all the jokes.
Sure.
People fail in real estate because of the freedom, right? And so there's a difference between having a year experience in real estate or having somebody who's been in it 5 or 10 years, which is they've had 1 year of real estate 5 or 10 times. This is worth remembering, Rich. This is kind of the thing I like to get across when it comes to teaching. It has nothing to do with the length of the runway. An airplane to fly, you could have a runway from Orlando all the way to basically Atlanta. And if that airplane is going down the runway at 15 miles an hour, it's not going to fly. It's speed. And if agents don't get to speed, which is production, which is basically going to get their career off the ground, they're going to have to go back to their secondary type of job. And I'm not knocking Target managers, right? However, there's not the same opportunity. So my passion, Rich, is to share ideas that will help people get to speed. Speed is important. And I've learned a lesson in this particular disruption right now that it came home to me. What Gary teaches is that market share that you pick up in a shifting market is market share where you don't have to give it up. And I've heard that. It's kind of like going to church your whole life. Then you finally, you have a V8 moment, right?
Sure.
And you know why that is, Rich? It's because how many competitors are basically lock their doors or shut their offices or basically treating this as spring break. And I know Florida's not a huge bastion. You're a bigger market in Orlando area than I am in Fort Myers and Naples. However, the Phoenix and the Atlantas and some of those other bigger markets, they had all these competitors and all these instant offers and purple bricks and the red doors and all these like competitors. They're gone. Who's left making the care and concern calls, you guys? Us. And when you make a care and concern call, you're going to develop or reconnect with a relationship that basically you'll be able to never let go if you take your database seriously, like what we're doing in Bold and Bold Pivot and Real Estate Sales 101. So,
absolutely love that. So let's jump right into the material then, Denny.
Okay, super. All right, so here's the thing. Just note to yourself, don't look at the date. That was last week. If you would love to be able to be part of a free webinar that I put on, it's basically mastering question-based scripts. Tuesdays from 1 to 2 Eastern Standard Time. Come on, just go to Denny Delivers Facebook page. You can sign up for that. It's free. I believe, and I'm going to demonstrate for you the power of question-based scripts. Also, I would be remiss that if you did not, I'm sure you've got Rich there as your OP, right? And you all know about Bold Pivot. We are talking about Bold Pivot. Is there anyone on this call that is planning on signing up that's not signed up yet? Because I'm going to have a special offer for you. If you want the opportunity to have a one-on-one 1-hour coaching session with me on, we can role play on your specific scripts to help you learn a little bit better techniques on question-based scripts. If you've signed up for Bold or you sign up for Bold Pivot on this call or today, just email me at Denny Denny delivers training at Gmail, and I'll put you in the drawing for that. Now, next, here's one for you, Rich. You'll probably steal this. Social distancing. Have you heard of social distancing?
I
I
have.
have learned that agents over my last 3 years of coaching Bold were failing because they were practicing social distancing before it became a law. They get their real estate license and they social distance. Listen, stop it. Now, point number one, now is the best time in my real estate career's memory, my 35-year memory, where you can make a call and not get cussed out. There's no rejection in this market. Are you kidding me? People are so cabin fevered. They're praying for telemarketers to call them daily. They're looking for someone else to talk to. Call them, ask them how they're doing. 80% of the time when you do that, 80%, they're going to turn the conversation around and say, well, what's going on in the real estate market? And here's the big thing, and I'm going to do a video on this because it's about ready to start. Lawrence Yun came out basically on Friday and talked about how buyers are starting to back off. This is the danger Will Robinson moment. Listen, for NAR to say anything negative about the market, you know that the market is going to be on fire. January, February, and March, sales pipelines up. Our sales are up because of what happened in the first part of the year. However, showings are down. Generally speaking, I don't know about your particular market center. I could just say across the nation, contracts written are start to decrease. And so when the media starts reporting about that, what do you think buyers are going to do? They're going to get that fin and staple it to their back. They're going to be sharks looking for blood in the water. Sellers will think this is going to be over in no time. So sellers are going to dig in. Buyers are going to wait. Been there, done that, 2006, 2009. You guys are around too. When you get into a market where you have that expectation gap widened, it's called the pause. It's the most dangerous time in the market because sellers aren't moving, buyers aren't moving. We're left attempting to get people together that are both unrealistic.
Amazing. You're absolutely right. Because I was back I find most agents, Denny, weren't around back in 2008 during the last shift. Most people haven't been in real estate more than 12, 15 years like you and I. However, this is something they've got to learn, and they got to learn it fast.
Yeah, and we're going to help you. You're not with a better market center or a better company. So obviously, uncertainty. Uncertainty basically leads to fear. And here's what I want you to write down, you guys. Fear is a terrible advisor. We've got clients making decisions out of fear. We've got real estate agents making decisions out of fear. And one of the things that I want to make sure I get across for you guys is this. There's a difference between being empathetic and sympathetic. I had an agent tell me, well, I had a couple agents, all my listings wanted to cancel. I said, what did you say to them? Well, I said, I don't blame you. I'd cancel too. I don't want to sell in this market. Ha! No, that's being sympathetic. I want to give you a script that basically is going to I call it the prescription script that asks a seller, listen, if your doctor gave you a prescription, watch this. You want to get to emotion? If the doctor gave your 8-year-old son a prescription, would you want the doctor to take the time to explain the potential side effects? You bet. Well, I'm not your doctor. I'm your real estate professional. Now, I understand you want to wait. Is it okay if I explain the potential side effects of you waiting? Don't worry about writing it down. It's coming up here in a second. When you ask that question, you enter into a conversation that basically you're coming from contribution. Same thing Gary talks about in Shift. I'll get to that in a second. Rich, you've been a Bold coach too, so this is my aha on this Bold law. Logic makes them think, emotion makes them act. And it's always been in my mind up until this time, emotion makes them buy.
Sure.
Here's the other thing. It cuts both ways. Emotion makes them wait.
Absolutely.
You understand that people are coming from emotion, right? So I'm going to give you some logic and then ways to apply the emotion, because when they're in emotion, you don't give them a lot of emotion. They need a little logic, then give them the emotion to balance it out, right? And moving forward, here's the thing. Point number 2. If you've got a pipeline of business, you better be over-contacting them, because you understand this concept. Fear increases if communication decreases. Your pendings, your pipelines, the people that are your buyers and sellers, over-communicate right now. Don't under-communicate. Just don't think, because they're a pressure cooker. And next thing you know, if you don't deal with that fear, something's going to happen. Next. We just talked about this a second ago. I'm going to give you 4 reasons why buyers and sellers should move forward today I'm going to give you 4 reasons why buyers and sellers should consider moving forward today that they're probably not considering. And it goes like this. Now, I know normally this is a slideshow. Now you're seeing both pictures. Great example, and Gary talks about it in Shift. Little boy on the left-hand side there, that's his first day of kindergarten. I know that you guys probably, some of you guys have had kids. You guys might have even been a kid one time. And so you remember your first day of kindergarten. You went in there and you might have ran into like the guy on the left. He's got his new backpack. He can't wait. He's happy. Or you might be like the child on the left. You might have been the right-hand side. I'm sorry, the right-hand side. You're a clinger. You're hanging on to the mother, right? Here's the difference between empathy and sympathy. If the mother said to the child on the right, honey, I don't blame you. I don't like this school either. Come home, live with mom till you're 55. That's sympathetic. Is that the right decision? No, I don't think so. Empathy is it's going to be okay, honey. Trust me. You're going to like it, blah, blah, blah. That's what our clients are waiting for. In fact, in Shift, James just talked about this on his call last week. Page 186, when it talks about overcoming buyer reluctance. Rich, are you guys seeing any buyer reluctance out there?
Some, not a lot, some.
You will see more. When people have good reason to buy, they do just that. When the market changes, it throws people off balance. Okay, got that. They want and may even need to buy, yet they're waiting. Why? Because they're fearful. They need someone like us to intervene and help them overcome their reluctance. We need to be the parent at the kindergarten room door with the clinger saying, it's okay to move forward. As you know, in any particular market, you have an expectation gap. And what's interesting, Rich, you say your buyers are still there.
They are.
Let me ask you this: in your market, are you tracking showings? Are showings up or down?
Showings are down.
Are new listings coming in up or down?
Down.
Pending contracts up or down?
Down.
Okay. So what's happening is the expectation gap is going to widen. It's going to accelerate a little bit because now the media is talking about it. They've not talked about it yet. Why? There is no data. April sales will be 40% under year over year. Now, when you're a buyer, you're spitting your hand saying, okay, here we go. Buy one, get one free. It's going to make our job a little more difficult.
Sure.
So what I want you to do, this is something that is going to be positive for your mindset, is arm yourself with positive information. Obviously, bold pivot is positive information. I think we did the math on this, Rich, for the coaching and the coaches' corners. It's like $7 an hour for coaching. Bold pivot's $99. I mean, how many people can't wait for their hairdresser to open up, right? You'll spend like 4 times that to get your hair colored and cut, right? Here's the thing, $99. It will help you arm yourself with positive information. One of the ways you do that is this: set up a Google alert on Lawrence Yun, Y-U-N. He's a chief economist of the National Association of Realtors. Almost every day he speaks. And when he speaks, other news services pick it up and it disseminates into other national or local press. You should be reading this because sometimes it's negative, sometimes it's positive. However, this is the formation of the news cycle. And if you find some positive information like this, real estate market limited, but still functioning in a C19 market, you can use that as third-party endorsement to buyers and sellers who want to wait. Now, generally speaking, fear causes paralysis. I have not heard anyone, Rich, talk about a buyer or seller that could not wait and wanted to accelerate their buying and selling plans because of this market. They've all wanted to slow down a little bit. Now, have you guys and your agents had any buyers or sellers want to wait, cancel, back out of the market? If so, what did the buyers and sellers say? And then we're going to go through a quick role play.
Sure. They're canceling. They're procrastinating, Denny.
Well, somebody give me, somebody unmute themselves and speak to me like I'm a Florida.
Who wants to role play with Denny, guys? Somebody jump in there. Who's going to be the buyer or the seller? What do you want, Denny, a buyer or seller?
I don't care.
I can. Susan Elliott with head of buyer.
Thank you, Susan.
Yeah, they were ready. They came into town right before they locked everything down. And they were they were just really anxious to write up a contract, but then they changed their mind once they started shutting down all the amenities in the community they wanted to buy in. And for that reason, they wanted to wait until the lockdown was lifted.
And who is that speaking, Rich?
Susan Elliott.
All right, Susan. So you had a buyer wanted to wait, right? Are they still waiting?
Yes, they are.
Okay, so in a moment, let's have a role play of that, okay? So keep your mic open, we'll do that. I'm gonna give you a couple things first. Number one, let me just ask you, is there a downside for buyers and sellers waiting? And that answer is yes. I'm gonna give you 4 reasons why. I don't want you to write them down because these are gonna be arrows in your quiver that I want you to know their potential side effects, and that's my script. That's my script. I just gave it to you a minute ago. The prescription script, this is it in writing. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. If your doctor prescribed a new medication for you, would you want them to explain the potential side effects first? Who would say no to that? Then you say, well, you wanting to wait, is it okay if I explain the potential side effects? Notice I said potential. So we don't know what the side effects are in their particular case, just like the doctor does it. They're going to say, okay, now you're going to have a conversation with them that's question based. Here's number 1, side effects for a buyer. It also works for a seller. Number 1, motivation. Motivation. Obviously, here's the thing. They wanted to buy or they wanted to sell for a reason. Now, again, going through that process without a reason is like going to a dentist for a root canal that you don't need one. It's not fun, and it hasn't been fun for buyers for some time now. So obviously, go back to why they're doing this. This is a great bold principle that we always teach in bold, is that motivation is paramount. And here's the thing. Most of us know they want to move to Cincinnati for whatever reason that is. I don't know. However, we don't know why. Get into the why. What does that do for them? How does that make them feel? What will that do for the family? Make sure you know that. Motivation is powerful. Never forget it. Go back to it when you have a challenge with a buyer or seller. I'm not going to spend any time on that because that's in any market, shifting or not. Number 2, I want you to go to timing. I'll ask you a question, and you don't have to like unmute. However, I've had enough conversations. I know what you might be thinking. I'll tell you specifically for the Florida market, and I believe we're very similar. I'm Fort Myers, Naples, whatever. So I would say, and Rich, you can correct me if this is not right. The last 10 years, typically we've seen upward movement on prices and downward movement in inventory. It's been a seller's market, generally speaking. Would you agree with that or not?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Denny.
Now, here's the thing. It makes no sense logically for a buyer to want to wait when this may be the only time in the last 10 years that market has been less seller friendly and more buyer friendly. Now, I didn't say there's going to be blood in the water. Who knows how long, how deep, etc. However, is it possible? Is it possible that a buyer buying from a seller right now might get a more favorable transaction than he would have in January? Yes or no?
Sure.
Yes.
And here's the answer to the question. And the buyers may miss the best time to buy in 10 years because the best time to buy, and this is worth writing down or taking a screenshot of it, the best time to buy is when sellers fear tomorrow will be worse than today. Is there fear in the marketplace now? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
There's fear on both sides. However, you think that seller might be a little bit more flexible, might throw in the lawnmower or the avocado green refrigerator they've been collecting for 25 years in the garage. Yes, fear exists. That's a friend to the buyer. Next, timing advantages. So advantage for a buyer wants to wait, possibly better pricing. Fewer buyers looking. Well, there's fewer buyers in the market looking. Why? Because buyers have fear. And so here's the thing. If I'm talking to, and I'll role play with Susan here in a second, and Susan's going to be the buyer, you'll hear me use the script. Well, Susan, let me ask you, if you have fear, do you think there's other buyers that have that same concern that want to step out? What would you say, Susan?
Yes.
So if other buyers are stepping out of the market and you were to stay in the market, would that be to your advantage or disadvantage?
I guess advantage, Denny.
Yeah, so why would that be? There'd be fewer buyers chasing the sellers, right?
Right.
So one of the side effects is basically if you take yourself out of the market now, you may be missing the best opportunity in 10 years. Would you like to hear more?
Oh, I would.
Well, okay. Sounds like you're going to be a nice role play, that like the one I just had. It was more like Freddy Krueger. Okay, so there'll be fewer buyers looking. Sellers are more flexible. Interest rates. Okay, so if you've been in real estate less than 10 years, you don't even know what high interest rates are. You haven't seen anything over 5%. So interest rates are good. We got that. Last one here. The timing may work backwards for you. Susan, when you step out of the market, okay, if you were to step out of the market, when would you step back into the market?
Well, when all of this is over and we can all come out of our houses.
Now, do you know when that is?
No, I'm hoping for at least by autumn.
Now would be a classic time to bring up motivation. I'm not going to do it. I understand why you're selling. You told me you wanted to move to Fort Lauderdale to the birth of your grandbaby. I'm not going down that road. That'd be a perfect place to use it.
Mhm.
This is what I wanted to demonstrate. So let me ask you, Susan, when this is all over and you start to feel comfortable, is it possible other buyers are going to feel comfortable too and step back in same time you do?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Some might even step in sooner than you, right?
Yeah, that could happen.
And the ones that step in sooner than you will get the best pick of the litter as far as the sellers, right?
Oh, yeah, they would.
How, and you stepping in later, you know why the best homes sell first?
Well, because they're the best ones. They're the cleanest. They've got a lot more features. They have the best prices. Right?
Yeah, you're right. They're the best. And you know what we call the ones that don't sell first?
No.
We call them leftovers. So the question is, would you want to step into a best home or a leftover home? See, you see what I'm doing here, right? So,
Ooh, like that.
So when we do a role play, here's the formula to follow. And this formula is taught in a lot of different sales classes. It was even in bold. And I love this section of what we taught. And you see the acknowledge, isolate, address, and close. Here's the thing, though, that I think that a lot of agents miss, and some classes don't go deep enough. The acknowledgement you get. I understand how you feel, Susan. The isolation is where we kind of go sideways. And this is where I want to slow down just for a moment, and I want you to get this. Is it possible buyers, there could be a couple there, husband, wife, significant other, you understand the dynamics. Is it possible people are having feelings that they haven't articulated yet? They may not have articulated to one another. Many times we have feelings that we don't share. That's what counseling is all about. And the interesting thing is that when you start delving into their feelings on why they want to isolate or why they want to wait, when we start isolating and breaking back the layers of why they're waiting, amazing things will happen. Many will self-discover that what they're thinking is, like Gary says, their logic is not sound. Because now they're having to articulate their feelings because we're asking great questions. Let me demonstrate this. Rich.
Sure.
What month were you born?
January.
Interesting. Now, that's what we call a good question. Why was it only a good question? Because I learned something Rich didn't. You probably knew that, right, Rich?
I knew when my birthday was.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's the thing. Now, the difference between a good question and a great question. A great question is when I learn something and the people we ask learn something. So let me ask you this.
Sure.
Rich, if you weren't born, we said January, right?
Yes.
So if it wasn't January, what month would you have loved to have been born in?
Probably October in the fall. I love the fall.
Now, here's the thing. You guys didn't see it. It's on tape. When I asked him the first question, he gave me the answer. When I asked him the second question, which is a great question, eyes up to the left, maybe the right, and he did that. What's going on in his mind?
You made me think.
Great questions make them think. And when they're thinking, they're getting out of the emotion, moving over to the logical side. And now you can start to work them a little bit because you're getting them out of fear into logic. Now we're going to take them into fear in a moment. So you understand that. Now I have a metaphor for you. Okay, so this is going to be classic. You can write this. Anybody wants to get a vanity plate, you can use this script. There's a you can use this motto on your vanity plate. It's a little bit letter intensive. Or if you want to get a tattoo, this would be a perfect tattoo. I'll show you in a second. Let me ask you a question. When we're finally able to travel somewhere, you're going to go to Disney. I'm sure that's what you want to do. You go to Disney for the weekend, right? Probably run into Rob Daniel. He's always there. And then when you come home, here's the question. When you've got your car looks like that, do you literally take a suitcase out of your car, take it inside, separate the clothing, colors white, start a load of laundry, put everything white, then go get another suitcase? No. You unload the car, then unpack. That's what I want you to write down. Unload, then unpack. Unload all their concerns up front. I'm going to demonstrate that with Susan, and we'll have some questions that I don't want to be longer than my 30 minutes. Here's the importance of this. Unless we talk about this and unload all this right now, let's say they make a concern, their first thing out of their mouth says, well, I don't, this health thing is freaking me out. Agents will start running with that and maybe start defending, well, we can mitigate this, we can do this, we can do that. They start telling and pushing people away. Remember, great questions lead people into self-discovery. Questions or statements push people away. And so unless you cover this right now and you dig and you dig and you dig and find out, well, of the 3 or 4 things you said there, Susan, what's the most important thing to you? Then if we could solve that, are you ready to move forward today? Now you've kind of basically have gotten to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop. And if you don't do it then, you're going to be playing whack-a-mole because these other concerns are still in there, unarticulated, undealt with. So watch how I do this. We still have 5 minutes, Rich?
Sure, okay.
All right, Susan.
Yes.
So we'll go right into it. You're a buyer and you wanted to wait, right?
Yes.
And all right, so I understand. So let's go back to the formula. So you want to wait. Now, who knows what that means, right? So tell me what's your concern about moving forward today?
Well, we are avid golfers, and we're primarily buying in this community just for the amenities, and the amenities are all closed down. So we don't want to spend our money on a home when we can't even use the amenities for who knows how long. Now,
most people would start to maybe even delve into questions about what they mean by that. Wait. Here's the shortest script in the world, like the shortest Bible verses Jesus wept. This is the shortest script. Other than that, Susan, other than the amenities being closed down, what else is causing you to delay today?
You know, maybe we're also concerned about how difficult will it be to make the move down there during this shutdown. I mean, you know, that, and I'm just speculating, Denny, but I'm thinking that may have gone through their minds too.
Just be that person. That's okay. That's okay. You stay and roll. You're doing awesome. So it's difficult to move. I understand. There's the acknowledgement. Other than that, what's causing you to delay moving forward today?
Well, and then we're really wondering. I mean, is it going to be difficult with the lenders and the title companies? I mean, I just don't know how all of this can pull together. It just is overwhelming right now.
Now, do you think that she's playing a realistic buyer, or could be a seller too?
Sure.
I think so. Now, there's a lot of things. I mean, is she clear and totally specifically articulating what's bothering her? No, she's got this fear and concern ball up, and no one's ever asked her to articulate it before. And now I'm asking her to do it, and she's having a difficult time because she's never done it. That's
Sure.
why we have to be the parent and say, okay, I understand. So because of time's sake, let's just say you have no more, okay?
Right.
So of the 3 things you mentioned there, what is the thing that's bothering you the most?
I would have to say is spending the money on amenities and we can't use them.
I knew it was going to be that because you brought it up twice. Now, do you think we're at the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop? Notice that she listed 3 things there, and they may list 2 or 3 or 13. 13 referring to somebody else. However, then just ask them which one is the most important to you. Because not every concern, not every emotion, not everything that falls out of their mouth has the same value. So let me ask you this, Susan. If that weren't an issue, would you be prepared to move forward today in spite of some of the logistic difficulties?
Absolutely.
Notice how definitive she is, so we're at least tracking the other way. All right, so let me ask you a question. You said you did not like having to pay for amenities, and you don't know how long they're going to be open, right?
Right.
How much do you have to pay there a month for amenities you're not using?
Let's see, it's about $400 a month.
And so your best guess is how many months do you think this might be like this?
Gosh, it could be another 6 to 9 months, we're thinking.
Okay, so let's say it was a year at 400. What is that? $5,800?
Yes.
So are you really saying that the $5,800 is basically keeping you from moving forward today?
Yeah, we are, actually.
Now I'm going to go into, let me ask, now that I kind of understand where she's coming from and I've put a dollar sign on it, I'll say basically, let me ask you a question then. If the doctor was going to give you a prescription you haven't taken before, would you want to know the potential side effects?
Of course.
So, and in real estate, in your decision, I'm not your doctor. I'm just your real estate professional. Would you want to know the potential side effects?
Absolutely.
Okay. So do you happen to know basically when the best time to buy is?
Yes.
When?
Well, when the pricing is right and we've got some great homes to choose from.
Okay, right. And actually we say the textbook answer is when sellers fear tomorrow is worse than today. Do you feel like that's happening right now?
I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
Do you feel like the prices may be a little bit better now because sellers are a little bit concerned about the market moving forward?
Yeah, I think so.
So do you want to buy in a quote buyer's market, or you want to wait for the sellers to feel good when the club opens back up, the sellers will be feeling good again, right?
Yeah, it's a good point.
This is kind of a lay down, and then I can go through the other things. For example, so if you basically pull yourself out of the market as a buyer, do you think other people are going to be fearful and pull themselves out?
Yes.
However, if you were to stay in, there were fewer buyers. Do you think that's a plus for you?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, would it all be possible? How would you feel if basically the seller said, hey, listen, I understand about the club. They'd be willing to pay your club dues for a year. Would that make you move forward?
Oh, that's a neat idea. Yeah.
So I'm going to stop because there's just a lot of different things that can happen here. And generally speaking, when you're having these conversations, they're not going to be a 5 or 6 minute deal. It's going to be 30 minutes. And you're going to go through, there's 4 different things I gave you. They're all in the slides. It's all been recorded. And it's all question based. Here's the thing. Those are the ingredients to make a perfect souffle. And just like anything else, we even teach this in bold, practice and role play. Gary has 5 things basically as our job description: practice and role play. That's why I have the Tuesday class from 1 to 2. We practice question-based scripting, because when you ask questions, you lead them to understanding. When you make statements, you push them away. That's what we like to work on, and that's kind of my passion.
Do you know what I love?
Your ahas or questions right now, because I want to be respectful of your time.
Sure. What I love is the question when you asked Susan, where she'd stop dead in her track about, if the seller were to pay for your clubhouse expenses. That caught her off guard. It stopped her. It made her think. There was a pause there. And that's the key indicator. When we ask great questions, it's followed by a pause. And then we know we're on to something. It's time to drill deep. And only because I've got a Zoom call at 12:40 in a market center in New York, I've got time. I've got like 3 minutes. I've got time for one question. Who would like to summarize what you've just witnessed by a script master in Denny? and ask Denny a question. We've got enough time for one person. Wow, they're all speechless, Denny. Guys, one person, one question. If somebody had a question, what would it be? I'm going to say if there are no questions, Denny, you just left them speechless just now. If there are any questions, they can send it to me. I'll give them your information where they can reach out, because now I have about a minute and a half to get on my next Zoom call. I so appreciate you dialing in. You had some people who were just in awe here, and I love the fact that you actually opened it up by doing a live scroll. Hold on, somebody's just, I got one or two people here. Thanks, Denny, that was great. They said fear increases if communication decreases. Over communicate now, so they're total agreement with you. All I can say is I appreciate you dialing in. If there's anything I could do to help you out, you and Kristen, I'm here to help, buddy.
Thank you, man. See ya.
Take care, everyone.